In the One Piece community, Yonko versus Admiral discussions still happen every day, despite many things being introduced. I mean, I even covered it a while back, but after seeing people still debate it, I had an idea. And my idea was to make the Yonko and Admirals fight each other. But I didn't want it to be in some random setting. I wanted it to be in a story-like setting. And so I then began to think. But then I remembered that at one point in the story, every member of the Navy was in one place, and they just so happened to face off against a Yonko crew. And as we know, that was Marineford. So I'm assuming that all of you can tell where I'm going with this. As the title thumbnail suggests, I'll be placing every Yonko crew into Marineford to see how well they'd fare against the Navy. So strap in, because I'm about to get real in depth with this video. But before I get into the video, if you guys enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit the like button and subscribe, as I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You guys show me love and support, and I give it back to you in the form of videos. Whether it's One Piece, other anime, or just fiction in general, in due time I plan on covering it, so be there when I go there. But I feel like I've rambled on long enough, so I'll jump straight into the video and see what would happen if every Yonko crew was in Marineford. Before I do jump into the scenarios, I'm gonna have to go over the rules, as if I don't lay them out then you guys will know what I'm doing this by. Now the first rule is that every crew will be there for Ace. For some crews they'll be there to actually save him, whilst for others they may be there for ransom or just to hold him hostage. I don't know, man, but the objective is to grab Ace and leave, so if you can't, then you lose. The second one is that they won't have the exact same help as Whitebeard did, as we are seeing Yonko's crew fight, not them and then Luffy and co. The third rule is that any fleets that they have will be there, as Whitebeard has his, so it's only fair. The fourth one is that I'll be using the strongest iteration of each crew. And finally, if someone who's now in a Yonko crew with fighting for the Marines is in Marineford, we'll be replacing them, as by this point in the story they've certainly been replaced. And for Ace himself, well, I mean, the Whitebeard Pirates are there for him, so he's just not going to be with them. He's going to be up on the podium about to be executed. And so with that being said, those are all the rules I need to cover for this video, so how about we jump into the what ifs. And so for the first what if, we have Cross Guild. Now before we even do anything, I'm going to be saying who Mihawk will be replaced by, and it's going to be Weevil. Now when they arrive in Marineford, Buggy is going to lie and say that for every Marine killed they're going to get paid, and on top of that, if they rescue Ace, they're going to get 5 billion berries. Now as we know, that is the fattest lie, but you know, it's Buggy, so he's still gonna lie, and everything plays out like it kinda does in canon. Kizaru does come to confront them, but Mihawk stops him instantly, and the tone is set. Crocodile goes in alongside Mihawk, but one thing that they realize instantly is that even if they do have numbers, their numbers isn't enough, as those two being the spearheads just doesn't work. What's insane is that a lot of the people here were actually in Marineford. It's just the fact that they don't have the Whitebeard Pirates backing them up, and they don't have some of the Revolutionary Army backing them up. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Mihawk is going to be hard carrying alongside Crocodile, who is going to be fighting people like Doflamingo, Weevil and whatnot, but he just can't keep up with all of those people. And although Mihawk is really strong, he can't keep up with all three admirals plus Sengoku and Garp, who are going to be waiting for him, meaning that, yeah, unfortunately for Cross Guild, this is an L. And so moving on, we have the Big Mom Pirates. Now the Big Mom Pirates is way more expansive, and the people that they do have are decently strong. So how would this go down? Well, to begin, the major players will hop off, and along with Big Mom they're going to go right for Ace, but they'll be stopped. But luckily she'll have her 3 main commanders, but who they're up against are the admirals. Now, Big Mom is going to be doing the most here, as there are going to be several soldiers around her, meaning that she can grab as many souls as she wants. She'll be unleashing her Conqueror's Haki, and she'll be powering up everybody. You can even say that she could turn a lot of the constructions in Marineford into homies, meaning that even the place around them is going to be fighting against them. We also need to add that Cracker is going to make a lot of soldiers, and a lot of them are quite literally around Doflamingo's power level. Katakuri is going to be there backing up Big Mom against some of the admirals, and Smoothie is there to do smoothie things. But with the sheer amount of numbers and weird powers that they have, the battlefield is going to be a mess, and surprisingly, it's going to be in the Big Mom Pirates' favor. Now, as we know, the admirals aren't just going to sit there and let everything go as they think it's going to go, so they're going to start contesting them, but Big Mom is going to be there to obviously be there and be like, you're not doing anything to my children. So what she will do, she will tell Katakuri to slip past, and Katakuri now has to face off against Garp and Sengoku, who are guarding Ace. Now this is where things get tricky, because Katakuri can't fight against Garp and Sengoku. No matter what you say, Garp and Sengoku are way too strong for him. Now what he can do is narrowly avoid them and try to get to Ace, but I just don't see that happening. And so when he falls, Big Mom will find out, and she'll try her hardest, but she can't do that much. You see, even though they have a lot of numbers, I mean even Beige is here too, but when you compare heavy hitters, it just doesn't match up well. Big Mom has to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and if she just sends Katakuri by himself to go do something, he can't do it because the people that are guarding Ace are way too strong for him. So over time, even though the Big Mom Pirates will be winning the majority of the fights, in the end they'll end up losing, mainly because the top end of their powers just doesn't match up against the Marines. And so yeah, unfortunately they do lose here. Up next we have the Blackbeard Pirates, and so jumping off of his ship to then deal a massive smash to Marineford, Blackbeard is here, and along with him he has Kuzan and the rest of his crew. Now I just want to say that Kuzan is going to be replaced by Green Ball, and so everything is set. Now as Blackbeard is the captain, you'd think that he'd be leading this operation, but instead it's actually going to be Kuzan. You see, since Kuzan knows all about the Marines' tactics, he'd be able to steer Blackbeard in the right direction and what to look out for. Meaning, he'd told Blackbeard to use the Yami Yami no Mi to swallow up a lot of the people there, while he goes around and freezes people and then instructs Shiryu and Pizarro to just cause a lot of disruption on the island. You'll have people like Katarina Devon hiding and masking herself as other people, and you just have a lot of things going on the island that will shake up the Marines, and that is mainly due to Kuzan. Now when Blackbeard's done using the Yami Yami no Mi, the admirals will then get active, but who's meeting them is Kuzan and Blackbeard. Now the thing is that this is a bad matchup for the admirals, as they all rely on their devil fruits and Blackbeard can cancel them. What this allows is Kuzan to follow up and deal devastating blows to them, meaning that Garp and Sengoku have to get active far earlier. But what Pizarro will do is he will then decide to shift the island, and this is where things get really tricky for the Marines. You see, when Pizarro starts to do stuff, they're either going to have to focus on him and then allow Blackbeard and Kuzan to do what they need to do, or Pizarro's just going to do what he needs to do and he doesn't make Blackbeard or Kuzan move. What he does is he actually just brings Ace to them, allowing them to rescue him way quicker. You see, when Blackbeard is constantly using Yami Yami no Mi and is using his Quake Smashes over and over again to obviously just lure people away and only bring in the admirals, who, if they have to fight him, it's going to get extremely tricky because you don't have Kuzan there, who's then dealing with extra firepower. this sets the tone, and you basically are fighting against the entire island, people going around and backstabbing you, and you then have Blackbeard cancelling out basically everybody that's important power aside from Garp. It's a very tricky fight, and Greenball's going to try and stop Pizarro, but Kuzan is going to be there and he'll wait and he'll be like, if you're gonna go for him, you have to get through me, and it's just a tricky ordeal. What ends up happening is Pizarro then end up bringing Ace to them, they free Ace, and what Kuzan will do is deep freeze the entire island. And obviously they're gonna get some pushback, but when a lot of your people are dropping down, most of them can't fight because of certain reasons, and the whole entire island's against you. It's kind of bad. You gotta think about it as well. As I said in the beginning, Kuzan knows basically all of their tactics, and Garp, the one person that can definitely do the most, is going to be in the most turmoil. Ace is about to get executed, Kuzan is there trying to fight him and doing a whole bunch of nonsense. It just isn't the battlefield for him, and so yeah, with basically everybody with the devil fruits either being shut off or they're scared to obviously fight, as the devil fruits could get shut off, with then Kuzan there waiting to deal that devastating blow to them. Yeah, I do see the Blackbeard Pirates being able to grab Ace and then leave, meaning that this is a W up on the board for the Blackbeard Pirates. And so up next is the Redhead Pirates. And so pulling up to Marineford in damn near the exact same fashion that Whitebeard did, they'd be there, and they'd be there with good intentions to go and get Ace. Now Shanks is gonna immediately try to get to him, but the admirals will stop him, forcing his commanders to come and help him. Now even though they aren't on the admiral's levels, his commanders are extremely strong, meaning that they can keep them occupied as Shanks goes past and goes up to Sengoku and Garp. Now for everybody else in the island, they're going to be dealing with the warlords, the pacificistas, and just everybody in between. And even though his fleet isn't the strongest, what Shanks has done is he's spread out his crew to where they can at least be in multiple places, so a lot of people don't really need to worry if they are weaker than a lot of the people that are on the battlefield. And so with Sengoku and Garp dashing at Shanks, Shanks is going to dodge past them as they try to obviously spin back around and get him, but when they try to, he just knocks them down and goes up to Ace and breaks Ace out using his haki. And so now the mission has turned to get out of Marineford, but the only thing is that his fleet are struggling hard, meaning he will then tell his main commanders to just flee. Don't bother finding admirals anymore and just help out the weaker guys so they can get out of Marineford. Now you think this is clean sailing from here, but what would happen is as Shanks is about to leave, Mihawk stops him. Now the reason Mihawk actually stops him this time is because he's ordered to. Remember, in canon it was only the Whitebeard Pirates, but here is Shanks. So what would happen is that they would have a brief fight, but they both agree that this probably isn't the best time, even though they are both technically on orders. Well, more Mihawk on orders. Shanks is just doing it because that's what he wants to do. He wants to obviously save Ace. So they'll stop their clash, and at this point the admirals are gunning for the Redhead Pirates, but Shanks is there to stop them. Now Shanks can't stop all three of them, but what he can do is keep them at bay for long enough for his crew to then get out of there, and that is when he decides to join them. The only reason Shanks even gets out of the situation is mainly because of his crew being able to shoot from afar, helping him out when he's facing against the admirals once again as they escape. But as I said, once they get on the ship and Ace is there, Shanks is then able to get back on and leave. They barely win, but guess what? A win is a win. So yeah, put a W up on the board for the Redhead Pirates. Moving on, we have the Beast Pirates. And so jumping off of his ship, Kaido decides to transform and tells everybody that can join them to join them as they're going to fly straight for Ace. But he is then stopped by the admirals. Now King is with him along with a few others, and so they have to battle the admirals, and their main issue is King, as he's Lunarian, and Kaido tells King to just stay on his flame mode. It doesn't matter about how much they can hit him, they can't really do damage to him, so just tank and he'll be fine. Kaido then says he's gonna try to get up to Ace, but he's then stopped by Kainu. He basically forces him to sit there and fight. Now, one thing you guys need to remember is that Apu, Hawkins, and X-Drake are there as well, so everybody else on the battlefield should be fine, and they're going to be extremely fine when Queen decides to do some crowd control. What Queen decides to do is rain down poison, and a lot of the Marines are poisoned, and since there is no Marco or Chopper, this goes in the opposite direction and helps the Beast Pirates a lot. Now, fortunately for the Marines, even though the Beast Pirates do have a lot of numbers and do hit quite hard, the upper echelon of their powers do not match the Marines, meaning that Kizaru, Kuzan, Akainu, Sengoku, and Garp can mow them down, and Mihawk, if he really wants to, can get active. Whenever any of them try to get near to Boa, they obviously get stoned, and so over time, even though it's a hard fought battle, Kaido does eventually die trying to get to Ace, and the rest of his crew does follow suit. It was a nice fight, but yeah, the Beast Pirates do hold this L. And so up next, we have the Whitebeard Pirates. Now for the Whitebeard Pirates crew, we're gonna have everybody from Marineford, Healthy Whitebeard, and Oden. Now in the beginning, it will go as usual with Marco and Kizaru, but then everybody will rush in. Oden, Whitebeard, and Marco will rush in against the Admirals and then fight Garp and Sengoku, whilst everybody else will do with everybody else on the battlefield. Now for the weaker forces, it's going to be a little bit hard, as we did see in canon that they kind of did need everybody from Impo down, and this is where they obviously start to wane. But when you have somebody like Oden on the battlefield, it makes a lot of things shift, as when you have somebody who is really strong that can also hang with the top tiers up there, he can try to take on more than he can chew, and what he will do is he will tell Whitebeard to move on, and Whitebeard will then have to then fight Garp and Sengoku, and this is a healthy Whitebeard. He is going to smash them out of the way and then get to Ace. This is where obviously Oden's going to need some help, but it's fine. Marco's there with the healing, and so they're going to continuously fight until Ace and Whitebeard are back, but on their tails is Garp and Sengoku. Now they're starting to realize that a lot of their weaker forces are struggling, and so what Whitebeard will do is send a serious smash, not Saitama or All Might, but you know, just a really devastating smash to split the whole of Marineford in half. With that being said, they have to rush back to their ship, and with Oden helping them out and with just Ace back and everybody there, they should be able to get off of the island, meaning that, yeah, that's a W for the Whitebeard Pirates. And so finally, we have the Straw Hat Pirates. And so, coming with their fleet, Luffy comes in and yells that he is there for Ace. The crew will jump off of their ship and they'll rush in instantly. Or will they? Instead, they do something that a lot of you may have thought of, but I don't think a lot of you did, and that is a coup de burst. Yeah, they coup de burst right to where Ace is, and this was Luffy's idea. A lot of them thought it would be dumb, but you know how some of them are on the Straw Hats, they'd laugh at it and be like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So what they do is they use Jinbei and the coup de burst to launch them straight into Ace. Now that the ship is there, what do they really do? Well, with the fleet being there, the fleet is obviously going to push up from behind while the Straw Hats are at the top. And what Luffy has done is he's activated his Gear 5 and he's obviously freed Ace from his chains. So what do they have to do now? Well, believe it or not, Luffy actually thought of something. He grew into a giant and has said, yeah, we're going to get out of here. Or is he? Well, with Kizaru coming in and striking Luffy, it stops him from being able to throw them away. But don't worry, as the giant pirates have been able to rush in, and since they're so big, they're able to obviously crush a lot of the people on their way, and they're there to strike the admirals. At the exact same time, Zoro, Sanji and Jinbei have jumped off of the ship to then deal with the admirals as well. So what's left? Well, basically what they need to do is they need to distract the admirals enough for them to get off of the island. What Luffy has done is he's then gone back into a giant and he's thrown the ship back near to the sea, but the rest of the heavy hitters do need to get back on that ship, so they have to fight their way through, meaning that the Marines have to fight from behind and in front. And so you may be asking, does this work? Well, if this is just a simple get in and get out mission, what they'll be doing is they'll be stalling a lot. And you guys gotta remember that Garp is going to be a non-factor here, as he's going to be emotionally unstable, and Luffy doesn't mind knocking some sense into the old man. Now, even if a lot of the Straw Hats are weaker than the admirals, you also gotta remember that Boa is helping out as well, meaning that a lot of the people that are trying to obviously get up to the Straw Hats that are on top of the podium are being stoned. And so what this forces them to do is this forces a lot of the Marines to have to choose where they want to fight, and this is where the Straw Hats are then able to obviously push them back and then possibly even dash past. It's a hard fought battle and it does go back and forth for a little while, but with the added allies that Luffy does have, and with certain people coming in to save him, like Bato saving him from a deadly Akainu and Kuzan attack, you can say that they do get back to the ship. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like they don't lose at least a few limbs or something, or maybe even somebody dies. I mean, yeah, that definitely happens, but are they able to get Ace back to the ship? Yeah. And so yeah, the Straw Hats do pull off the win. And so with that being said, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as I did enjoy making it. And so yeah, if you guys want any more what ifs, you know what to do. Hit like button, subscribe, comment down below. And yeah, so see you guys in the next video. I love you all. Good. Bye.